Alright, we are recording for the epilogue of Star Trek 6 Undiscovered Country, so that will make this the final video for this book. The epilogue is kind of short. I'm not promising the video will be, because, do have things to talk about here. Have to give my overall stuff, and also, I had a thought that occurred to me after finishing the previous videos, and I have to put it in the review. I will talk about it here as well, but let's first go through the epilogue. So it starts with it's actually kind of stupid when you think about it. But Azad Burr is returning to her quarters, and inside is Curler waiting for him. For her. Okay, actually no. As she hoped, Curler was in his guest room, but she still went to him. So anyway, and they talk about some stuff. One thing though, this was after successful negotiations on Kittimer, but every indication is it's the same day. So let me get this straight. You had an assassination attempt on the ground, a space battle in orbit, and it's like, yeah, let's just continue with negotiations. I feel like that should be the next day, but anyway. I mean, just the reporting, get everyone figuring out what the hell is going on. That makes sense. But as far as negotiations go, now wait for the next day. Because also you want to know everything that happened and let that digest, figure that out. Because that will play into the negotiations, I feel. And there's actually a point later that, thanks to Curler, and it's like, it should also play back. But anyway, let's get to this highlight. Because she explains to him that Chang is dead, and he had conspired with Cartwright and the Romulan ambassador to keep us at war. Chang, Curler repeated softly, staring beyond her as he tried to absorb it. But he was a warrior, sworn to protect your father, and you. He was a liar, Azad Burr said. Not all warriors are so honorable, Brigadier. At last she understood why she had not been killed. Chang and his conspirators deemed it necessary for her to live long enough to attend the conference. He arranged for my security so that the negotiations could continue. And the Federation president, I'm still not going to try to pronounce his name, could be assassinated as well. With both the Federation and the Klingon Empire blaming each other for their leader's death, war would be inevitable. This is foolish. I'm sorry, but if the assassin kills both of them, then it clearly is like a third party acting. You're not going to have one government blame the other, because you wouldn't have a government kill its own leader. Okay, unless it is just a coup, but then the other government can be like, okay, we're going to step back and let you settle that, or we're going to come in and settle it for you, kind of thing. It's like, it's not a war kind of situation. Yeah, it's stupid. Like, Azad Burr, or whoever Gorkon's successor was, should have been spared regardless, because they needed to create the situation. They did, and that is also part of it, is technically with this, it shouldn't be so much trying to kill a specific target as it is creating the situation, because the goal isn't their deaths, it's the war. So yeah, the conspiracy has not been impressive. But it's also because it's these two, and she does also acknowledge that it was Chang who had suggested that Curler could not be trusted. Hang on. She stepped toward him, placed a hand on his chest, and felt relief when he did not recoil from her. So it seemed basically she's knowing that, yeah, I kind of screwed this up, and even does it. I should have trusted you. You were right. I regret sending you away. And it's just like, are we gonna be able to get through this, or is this all bad? Fortunately, it's not bad. Now you know. I hope there can no longer be any question in your heart, Zeta. In reply, she clasped his wrist and pulled his hand to her face. He smiled, teeth white against his bronze skin, then hesitated. Azad Burr frowned. What is wrong? Curler released a wistful sigh. Did you say there was only one of those vessels? What an incredible weapon it would make for the Empire. She started, indignant, and dropped his hand, on the verge of scolding him before his laughter stopped her. For the sake of negotiating, of course. You can trust me, Zeta. Do not ever make the mistake of trusting the Federations or the Romulans. I suppose, Azad Burr told him, I need a warrior to advise me. I can advise you, my lady, in far more interesting things besides politics. Smiling, he drew her to him. So, like, okay, yeah, they're gonna be fine. Um, she does need to be able to trust the Federation, though. I mean, it can be a trust but verify kind of thing, but there's also the whole, okay, so they only had one of those things, one of those prototypes. But they should still be able to produce more. However, I do believe this, that should be sort of, it might have to be a back channel kind of thing, because you can't have the Federation president just saying this outright. But basically, she needs to offer that it's like, regardless of how the negotiations go, here are the plans for it. Because that technology is too dangerous for just the one to have it, especially if you are genuinely trying to achieve peace here. It would be kind of like how, and this has happened plenty of times, when various weapons are used in mass murders or in assassinations, those weapons, after like trials are completed and whatever, are actually destroyed because you don't want anyone attaching to them somehow, and like making them into relics kind of thing. Well, this is technology. It's not a specific weapon. I mean, it was a specific weapon. It's been destroyed, but this still is the concern of the technology. So it's like, by sharing it, that means that you kind of get the mutually assured destruction. It is a large sign of goodwill. And it's also, if there is a weakness to it, then others can find that and so also mitigate the threat that it poses. So it's like, that should be a thing. I mean, to be fair, that's more of that could be like a Epilogue 2 kind of thing, but it still is Federation president should be like, yeah, we need to make sure that those things are neutered. Not that they can't be made anymore, because how can you stop the Klingon Empire from making those things? You can't. It's like, because how do you know you can trust them not to? So it's just share the technology with us as well. So that way, even if something goes wrong and you guys do start making those things and try to attack us, we're ready. So, yeah. We then do cut to on the Enterprise. And the scene is largely like the end of the movie, not completely. Do you get a mention about how they got a message from Starfleet that, charges have been dropped? Curiosa also says that the charges against Excelsior's captain and crew have been dropped as well. There's never an indication of any charges against them, so I don't understand that. But also that they did get word that K.O. Marcus had recovered, so he's calmed about that. They're too far away to get a direct communication, but they gotta head back to Earth and all that, so they'll be, he will be able to talk to her within hours, kind of thing. So that's good. One thing that did annoy me, though, I didn't highlight this, but it still annoyed me, that so around the bridge there's still that one seat absent, the one that Valeris was in. That one that they should have had a relief officer in. I was like, there needs to be somebody in there. But it's also odd because it refers to, the one at the helm where Sulu and later Valeris had sat. That's one that's empty. It's like, Sulu got command of the Excelsior 10 years ago. Valeris volunteered for the seat on this mission. So that means that there was about 10 years of somebody else there. We're just forgetting about them? I mean, in the movie, it's not stated how long anyone has been anywhere. So, to my mind, I also never really paid attention to the whole thing. Like, because Sulu, I'm pretty sure, does say in the beginning that it's been 3 years that he's been on the mission with Excelsior. So it's like, okay, yes, it has been 3 years. He hasn't been at the helm. But then but it's still like, oh, well, Sulu isn't there, Valeris is taking spot. Okay, fine, you're not thinking about the gap. In the book, though, no, you do need to remember the gap. But they're talking, and we get the whole, it's a good thing they don't arrest people for having feelings, that whole thing. if they did, we'd all have to turn ourselves in. Chekhov mentions, and how can we rely on them? Which is actually kind of stupid when you consider that Valeris made her decision not based on emotion but on logic. But we do still get this line that I do like it. It is an accurate line. Because, this is Kirk starting, but Spock finishes it. All I can say, Mr. Chekhov, is the only way to find out if a man is trustworthy, now Spock finishes it for him, is to trust him. That it's only by actually testing that trust, by putting trust in them, that you can find out. And that's a fine point. That's a very accurate point. But it is still, there is a great difference, a great distance between having the feeling about something and acting on those feelings. This is stupid. So, it's like them reflecting on it like that, it's should be more of a there but by the grace of God go I kind of thing. That, how close was I to joining the conspiracy? Thinking more like that versus a, man, if it was, I agreed with her or something like that. It's stupid. It works better in the movie, I feel, because it's just, you're not reading each word, they're just being delivered, it's going back and forth, they're not getting the pacing, spreading things out between them, but, yeah, technically, by the way, while it mentions that the charges from Starfleet have been dropped against them, no mention that the Klingons dropped the whole, you were tried and convicted, you, also escaped, kind of a problem, but I mean, theory, they could just had a line there about as it were pardoning them. That's like, no, you're fine. It's like, but it would make sense because she could, in theory, just do that, pardon them completely. Technically, there should be other things like a full investigation. Although that's true. Huh. None of the known Klingon conspirators are alive anymore. It would be, in a way, horrible. But that could also be a means of good faith, of goodwill. If the Federation president was like, Cartwright and Valeris, or maybe just Cartwright, they hang on to Valeris, but it's like, we'll give him over to you to try. We only ask, and just have it be like, we only ask this. Don't execute him. You can say, but if you want to sentence him to life, do that. But let him linger, okay? Let his shame, his dishonor, let all the horrors of who and what he is survive so that all people can see and know that. Do something like that with him. But it's like, I could see that being part of the peace negotiations, where it's like, we'll give him to you. But it is kind of interesting that none of the Klingon conspirators are alive. It never occurred to me. Never occurred to me. Because that technically means that aside from them choosing to give them up, they would all have to face Federation justice. Well, specifically Starfleet justice. Well, both. They would be both court-martialed, and there'd be more civilian-esque trials as well. That is an interesting thing to consider. Anyway, finally coming to the end here, the end. A lot of it is like what's in the movie, but the line from Spock, the amazing line from Spock, is a bit different. I'm completely mispronouncing that. Let me just start over. So this is, Uhura has gotten the order from Starfleet that they are to be decommissioned. And they're all, how's they actually put it? Yeah, Jim stared at her, unwilling to issue the order, aware of the sudden tense silence of the eyes focused on him. At last Spock spoke, clearly, precisely. Were I fully human, I would tell them to go to hell. No, it doesn't work as well in the book how it's written, because it's, were I fully human, ... I would tell them to go to hell. Whereas in the movie, it's, for one thing, it's not fully human. It's, were I human, I would tell them to go to hell. Like, he pauses there to help give emphasis to the actual go to hell portion. And then when you get, the fanfare starts there, Kirk smiles, and it's like, everyone is like, yep. Then he also adds, we're a human. Nimoy delivers that line perfectly. I mean, he really does. And then, the whole course heading, Captain, second star to the right, and straight until morning, which it legitimately is the perfect ending to that movie and to the original cast of Star Trek. It is the perfect farewell, that ending. It just is. And this doesn't do it nearly as well, but it is just back with Wrath of Khan. The fact that it also ends on the second star to the right straight until morning. If you go back and look at that video, I'm actually angry, because it's like, I know it's a good ending there, but the problem is, and I also understand, they thought that might have been the end of the movies. That they didn't know they were going to get Social Spock, but Wrath of Khan did amazing. But it was just... I understand why it's there, but it's like, no, this is the perfect ending. Star Trek 6 is what has the perfect ending, not Wrath of Khan, so don't... It just so bothered me that it's like, no. You shouldn't have used it there. Use it here. Alright. And we do also get the captain's log here. Which one thing occurred to me, which... Well, here. They will continue the voyages we have well, I'll just read the whole thing, actually. This is the final cruise of the Starship Enterprise under my command. This ship and her history will shortly become the care of a new generation. To them and their posterity, we will commit our future. They will continue the voyages we have begun and journey to all the undiscovered countries, boldly going where no one has gone before. Now, that is one of the changes that with TNG, it is no longer where no man has gone before from the original series. It is where no one has gone before. And there can be some argument that that's... there was political correctness. There we go. I was trying to remember the term. There was political correctness. And yeah, that's not necessarily wrong. But here, there is also that element of the racism that was involved. Though technically it would be speciesism. But in any case, the whole, as Burr said earlier, human rights. And so, by changing it from no man to no one, it is kind of like how McCoy pointed out that he'd never been taught how to treat a Klingon. He'd never been taught Klingon anatomy. Was that Starfleet suggesting that they weren't valuable enough to try to save? It's like, it could potentially, in the context of this story and the racism that's contained in it, it's possible that's actually another reason for the change. That it is Kirk himself speaking that it should not be limited to just man, as in mankind, humanity. Now, true, it is also, as I said earlier, everyone's human. He said that to Spock, and in Wrath of Khan, of all the souls I've known, his was the most human. So it's that whole... There was... It may seem weird, but the idea of human ideals and human rights doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to our species, but we still refer to it as that. Yeah, because you can see rights that seem more so associated with this, or privileges associated with one culture. Some would still try to apply those to other cultures, even though it's not as valued there, but it still is no, we consider it just a right, so you should have it as well. So, yeah, I can see an argument there. But the political correctness stuff, that is also part of it. Because don't forget, this is newer than the start of TNG, so this was Kirk using it after it had already been established, so that's how TNG goes. Yeah. Oh, I did not realize that. Alright. I don't know if I've been making a mistake. I never bothered looking up J.M. Dillard. It's just, is the author of various other things, mentions the novelization of Star Trek The Fine Frontier, but also, she has also written a psychological thriller, Spectres. I never looked her up. I didn't know she was a woman. Oh, I think I typically just referred to as Dillard. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. It's purely my ignorance, and yes, ignorance. Because I did not look it up, so I did choose not to look, not to find out. So, sorry. Oh yes, the one point that occurred to me after the videos before. I'm actually I have to be disappointed in the space battle. I do, because what occurred to me, my rules with action, that when you gotta fight, you need to have progression and strategy in there. I mean, technically there is some strategy, but there's also like no progression. The fight between the Enterprise and the Bird of Prey is basically just the Enterprise getting beat up. That's it. Until Excelsior gets there, and then it's not even maybe Excelsior will be able to detect it with its hypersensitive sensors. It's not even that. We don't even see an opportunity for that. It's just we've come up with something on our own. So even the strategy of waiting for Excelsior isn't actually applied. So yeah, there's really no progression there. We get the one time that Kirk tries to backs off to confuse Chang, but we never see him do anything more. So it's like, it actually does fail. Now the movie, I feel, does a better job, because with the different cutting, with the visual effects, with the sound effects, and the music, it does continue to build the tension there, because it's also like the hull has been breached. That's never mentioned in the book, but in the movie, so you see that it's basically becoming more and more real that the Enterprise could be destroyed. Obviously not this plot armor, but the plot armor isn't perfect. It is allowed to take serious damage. So that does it a bit better, because you do have that progression, at least of, I don't want to say of the stakes, because as I said, it has plot armor, it's not going to be destroyed, but still is, how close can it get? So there is, the tension progresses. So yeah, it's like, I get, there are some elements of there, but by and large, I would say no, it fails. It's better than the fights in Revenge of the Sith. There's that much at least, but it's still, it does technically fail, because there isn't really any true sense of progression throughout it, or true sense of strategy. So yeah. That is disappointing. I will try to put that in the review. I have a special note there that I want that in the review, because it's, once I realized that, I was really disappointed, because that is true. It's a very flat moment. It's like just going along. I'm not feeling like it's that the tension. I didn't feel like tension was growing. The fact that it was like, if only we could smell them. Yes, if only we had bloodhounds. Yes, this. Yes, that. Oh, hey, we can actually see the plasma. And then the whole technical errors there. It's like, so you're just hitting me on the nose. So I didn't actually feel like going like that. They're just constantly hitting on the nose that, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. It's like, just get on with it. Because it ruins the pacing. It hurts the tension. And it's also, if he had stuff like Kirk having Chekhov move the ship around, trying to dodge, doing things to throw off Chang, it would have been so much more interesting. If he was doing blind fire, that would also be more interesting. Especially if he tried to do things where, like, phasers should be faster than the torpedoes. So imagine firing torpedoes in one direction, thinking that's where he might be. And maybe Chang is like, oh, I'm not there yet, but can slow down, can dodge. But then firing phasers around it, something like that. So that even if he's dodging, it's like, no, we still have a chance of hitting you, and you have less a chance of dodging because phasers are fast. You could do things there, so that there is still strategy. There is still trying to do something. You're not just, robo-doping it until Excelsior gets there, and then you don't end up using Excelsior. So it's, yeah, not that happy with it. But overall, I'm gonna give it a 2. So that I'm still recommending, but it's a weak recommendation. There's legitimately part of me that wants to make it a 1. I'm No, it gets a 2. It gets a 2 because, while it tapered off. I do feel like the last chapters were not as good, were not as interesting, not as engaging, not as entertaining. There's probably some other words I could throw in there, but there was still some of the stuff earlier on, like the dinner scene. That stuff was more interesting, was more engaging. So I did like that. The drops with the red herrings, it was still kind of lousy, the detective story part, but that stuff was interesting enough that no, I think I can comfortably give it a 2. I might change my mind by the time I start writing, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be happy with it having a 2. If I do change my mind while I'm writing the review and make it a 1, it's not. I can't see that happening. I don't think that will happen though. I think I'm comfortable with the 2. So weak recommendation, which is disappointing because it is my favorite of the movies, but is what it is. It also just occurred to me, J.M. Dillard being a woman, that also means then that 5 of the 6 were written by women. Huh. I mean, it's nothing really special there. It's just occurred to me that that's the case. Because Roddenberry did 1, but Vonda McIntyre did 2, 3, and 4. Then Dillard did 5 and 6. Well, if nothing else, it lets me be able to say that whoever thinks that Star Trek is a boys' brand, kind of wrong. Yeah. Star Trek's for everyone. I do understand, though, if people don't get it. I actually made a comment somewhere, and somebody said that, yeah, I don't really like it because it always seemed too clean and, was it, post-scarcity. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. That's... I got no argument. That is completely accurate. I still think it's good. I completely understand. Your point is accurate. But I did point out, Deep Space Nine is probably the closest to what you'd want then. But it's still... I understand. Alright, so yeah, this will be getting a 2. It'll take me a while to write up the review, but doesn't really matter. It'll still be done before this final video goes live, because that's when I put the description, put the link to written review in the description. This is I mentioned this in the previous video as well. I'm going to repeat it here. This is going to be the last assigned reading video, at least for a while. I want to take a break. Finishing the Star Trek novel seemed a good idea. Especially because the Vonda McIntyre novels, the chapters were so long, it was taking out all my free time. I couldn't write. It hasn't been so bad with either of the Dillard novels, so yeah. But still, I want to take some time to figure out how I may want to adjust the schedule to help ensure I have time to write my own stories. But also, since I've started writing the reviews, I do want to go back and write them up for the prior story. So I'm going to take a break and work on writing those. How many do I have? Let me look at this. Here, and actually I have a database table that I keep track of. I should actually add in a column for the written reviews. But I do keep the recommendation comments in here. Anyway, I actually already wrote up one for A New Hope. I need to go through and edit that. But then I've got 9. It takes me about a week typically to write them, but it might be shorter because I have to go by memory. So I might forget some things. Might also be longer because I'm going to be going back to old notes. I do have them all. But yeah, because I've got Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, iRobot. Actually, no, I can skip Grimm's Fairy Tales. The fact that varied so much, because one story to the next, one tale to the next, it's nope, don't need to do a review on that. The Princess Bride, and then The Password is Courage. Yeah, so I've got 8 that I'm going to work on, so that'll take me a while. And I do have various ideas for what the next story will be. I do have more movie novelizations I would like to do at some point. I may put those off though, so that I'm not just going through more and more novelizations. Hey, don't get me wrong, novels, they're good. Hey. So odd, it says here that it's 99% read, but it's like, no, it's finished. Why is it not giving me an option to mark as finished? Whatever. Yeah, so I'll have to decide what it is. And I do also have some print books I can go to as well. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. I also do have one movie novelization I might do. That's print over there. That'll be fun if I do it. Or rather, when I do it. But there's also one or two things that might be coming, and I'd like to try doing those. They'll be a little different. But yeah, so there might be some changes to how I will, when I get back to these, how I will do the schedule. One, just to explain. Now, it's just an idea. I kind of like it. We'll see. Because the Star Trek trilogy, it just ate up so much of my time that it's like, that's really what I was thinking about it. 5 and 6, not so bad. But one idea that I had, I'll try to explain it, is basically to try to do one book a month. And so, like, this one was only 15 videos. Now, true, it would then take me a week to write the review, but it's like, do that, and then whatever free time is left in that month, I don't need to spend it making videos. I can spend it writing. I was thinking about something like that. If it were to run past a month, then it would just be, well, then I get however much of the second month free to do whatever. I'm not committing myself to that. It's just one idea, and I do kind of like it. But we'll see. Because it might also be, maybe I finish writing up the reviews and just like, and do my own writing, and then being like, you know what? I'll just manage it. I'll do it. And if I get a book with long chapters that provoke long videos, that's just how it is. We'll just see. The fact is, I enjoy doing these. I really do. Yeah. So, with that, I'll see you next time. It won't be a few weeks. It might be a couple months. Because as I said, I've got 8 to write up, not counting this one. But I've also got more than a week of lead time before this video will actually be coming out. So, yeah, it'll probably be like 8 weeks that I'll have to spend writing reviews. And then, yeah, fun. What it's worth, I also enjoy doing that. All right. Yeah. And I'll also be spending that thinking about what changes I may want to make. But in any case, see you next time.